Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My fellow Pakistanis and fellow Americans, on this New Year's Eve, as I wish you all a very happy New Year, it pains me deeply that more than a month has gone by and we still do not have the final word as to how and why on 26th of November, 24 Pakistani soldiers guarding a Pakistani military post were bombed to death by NATO forces. Yes, indeed, I am aware of DGMO Ashfaq Nadeem's briefings to the Senate Standing Committee, and I am aware of the inquiry done by Brigadier General Stephen Clark. I stand before you today both as an American and as a Pakistani citizen to ask questions. I shall talk about the tumultuous relations between my two countries, Pakistan and the United States. I shall lay down before you perspectives unbeknown to most of you. Let me begin by saying that I'm not any official spokesperson for either of these countries. I speak for myself as an ordinary citizen. Every citizen is a stakeholder in the affairs of his country. A question is being asked everywhere in the United States today. Have Pakistan's army generals been sincere in their war against terror and in their crackdown against the insurgents? The answer is clearly no, they have not. The reason is not complex. Insincerity, infidelity, and deceitfulness are the fruits of a culture where backdoor diplomacy prevails. The people of Pakistan were never given any opportunity to appreciate what it is like to live under a rule of law. Generals have been the only political party of Pakistan. They have been kingmakers. They have been ruling Pakistan like colonial masters for almost all of the past 65 years. This ruling class of elite, the Pakka Saabs of Pakistan, in order to hide their false faces, have never permitted the cultivation of true relations between the people of Pakistan and the United States. People of Pakistan do not even know the difference between law and anarchy. Over 65 years, this ruling class of elite has never permitted the cultivation of a rule of law, of equality, equal opportunity, and justice. Consequently, the line that demarcates the boundary between lawfulness and unlawfulness is very vague and faintly visible. Do not blame the people of Pakistan for corruption. Let nobody dare blame them for corruption. For 65 years, the people of Pakistan have been cheated in the name of nationalism, patriotism, socialism, Islamism, modernism, liberalism, and whatnot. They have never tasted a rule of law. Over the past 65 years, there have been 100+ instances when the people of Pakistan have looked upon the United States to intervene directly and serve the cause of justice. United States has always turned its back. Today, we talk of a rule of law. We talk of insurgents. We talk of terrorists and anarchists. But the poor people of Pakistan have no idea what these words mean. Take, for example, Kashmir. For 65 years, the people of Pakistan have been looking at the United States to intervene and implement the United Nations resolution that calls for a free plebiscite in Kashmir. In the name of justice, in the name of international law, in the name of peace, United States was obligated to play its role. Americans never did anything meaningful in this regard. Today, despite billions of dollars in aid, United States of America is hated by the people living in Pakistan even more than they hate India. The situation there is entirely the fruit of years of corrupt backdoor diplomacy. This is what I shall talk about today. The dark alleys of backdoor diplomacy need a closure, need a total reevaluation and eradication. This has hurt everybody painfully. The history of political relations between Pakistan and the United States, the history is a long history. It goes back to September of 1953, when the Commander-in-Chief of Pakistan's army, General Ayub Khan, first visited the United States, which resulted in President Eisenhower's announcement in 1954 granting military aid to Pakistan. 3 months later, the two countries signed what has been known as a mutual defense agreement. Dennis Cook, in his book Disenchanted Allies, gives a fascinating account of Ayub Khan's what he considers blunt ways. For example, one day during his visit, Ayub Khan is said to have stormed into Secretary of State's office in the State Department here in Washington. Frustrated by his inability to get a firm answer on the issue of U.S. arms aid to Pakistan, Ayub Khan said, and this is on record, "For Christ's sake, I did not come here to look at your barracks. Our army can be your army if you want us." 8 years later, Ayub Khan, as the President of Pakistan, addressed a joint session of the Congress and declared to the Americans, which I quote, "The only people that will stand by you are people of Pakistan, provided you are also prepared to stand by them." This was in 1961. Ayub Khan is said to have given beautiful briefings in which he gave a rationale for Pakistan's military program, what its force is going to look like, its composition and its disposition. Ayub Khan was a graduate from the famous University of Aligarh, founded by the great Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, the fountainhead of Islamic Renaissance movement. I have the honor to be an Abdalian, a graduate from the Military Cadet College founded by Ayub Khan. The Quran, which I was taught to read and which I dearly uphold as the word of God, forbids us to discriminate between human beings. Therefore, I will never discriminate between Americans and Pakistanis, those who lost their lives in this war. We are all children of Adam, equally dignified human beings in the eyes of God, and I grieve, mourn, and condemn any loss of human lives, irrespective of ethnicity, color, or creed. But let me first make this clear to all those who hate America. I am proud to be an American and a Pakistani, and this is entirely out of my willful accord. Being an American has not been any kind of a cultural adjustment or leap for me. The Islamic State, as founded by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was once as glorious and flourishing an empire as is the United States of America today, and in many ways similar to the United States. Women of the Islamic State went out in cities during day and night all by themselves and traveled between cities all by themselves without any fear of being molested. For centuries, the citizens of the Islamic State enjoyed liberty, happiness, and prosperity of a kind that had never been witnessed by any nation of the world. It was in this culture of freedom established by the founding fathers of Islam and the followers of Islam, where human beings first learned to live under a rule of law. These were neither monarchs nor kings, but caliphs who considered God as the sovereign and considered themselves as subjects of God. Subjects of God. Each citizen was a subject of God, and God was the sovereign. There were no mullahs, no fatwas, and people were free to practice their religious rites. Each citizen was expected to serve God by serving the state, and each citizen was accountable before God. Each citizen pledged allegiance to God's state, and in return, the law of God served them as their sustainer and provider. Iyaka nabudu wa iyaka nasta'in. In words of the Prophet, the individual for the state for the individual, and everybody served Allah. Human liberty attained its zenith in such a culture of rule of law. As a natural product of an environment of liberty, a glorious civilization thrived. These men and women, citizens of the Islamic State, emerged as pioneers in all fields of sciences, from algebra, chemistry, optics, astronomy, medicine, music, and all fields of culture. As it is in the United States today, the Islamic State too had strict laws against anarchists. These anarchists, referred to in the Quran as kafirun or aliens, these are the ones who refuse to accept living under a rule of law. These were insurgents, no different than insurgents today. In that day and age too, insurgents were mostly religious fanatics, Jews and Christians, who refused to accept living under a rule of law, a law that gave equality to people, emancipated women, and abolished slavery. The mentality of insurgents today is no different. Quran refers to law enforcement officers of the Prophet's Islamic State as mu'minun, and uses the word for their opponents, kafirun, although the word has sadly been mistranslated as believers and disbelievers. Quran condemns anarchy and lawlessness in the strongest possible words. I can narrate hundreds of verses from the Quran that talk about establishment of peace by the law enforcement agencies of the Islamic State, the Mu'mineen. I can quote verses that ask the Mu'mineen to wage a war against insurgents. Quran even defines the limits of such a war. وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا. You are obligated to go to war for the Islamic State as established under the law of Allah, fi sabilillah, against those who engage you in war. You're obligated to go to war against them. وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا. But do not cross the limits of the law. Do not retaliate to even the score. Inna Allaha la yuhibbul mu'tadin. God does not love those who retaliate. وَقَتَلُوهُمْ حَيْثُ سَقِفْتَمُوهُمْ وَأَخْرِجُوهُمْ مِنْ حَيْثُ أَخْرَجُوكُمْ. Kill the insurgents wherever you find them, and drive them out of the Islamic State just as they drove you out. وَالْفِتْنَةُ أَشَدُّ مِنَ الْقَتْلِ. The evil of insurgency against a state is a far worse evil than war. Today, the entire world knows well the evil of insurgency and terrorism and how it has hurt the world of peace. Who knows better of this evil than the people of my poor Pakistan? Next, the Quran goes on to say, this is the way to punish the anarchists. This is the way. Kazalika jazaa'ul kafirin. This is the way to punish the anarchists. This is the way to punish the insurgents. The people who established Pakistan knew very well what was a rule of law. The people of Pakistan knew very well, those who founded Pakistan, what it meant by establishing a rule of law. Pakistan was carved out of India in 1947 by Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah to be just such an Islamic state, a state where rule of law shall prevail. Pakistan was supposed to mark the beginning of Islam's dream empire of the modern era. Think tanks of United States of America and Pakistan generally tend to think of Islam as some lost ancient civilization. That is the point where they are all dead wrong. Nothing can be further from the truth. The people of Pakistan, including myself, truly believe that this dream empire, beginning with a new modern Islamic Pakistan, shall one day come out of the clouds and place itself on the map of the world with a big bang. I'm one of those who believe in this. Not only that this will happen, but I believe that this must happen. The world hearkens for Muslims to join the rest of the human race and learn how to live together in their lands under a rule of law. When the dream of such an Islamic state is realized, a state where equality and equal opportunity prevails, an entirely new situation of peace shall arise in the world. I say this to both my fellow Pakistanis and Americans. It shall be befitting to you to understand the great ideology of this unseen empire. It shall be far easier for all of you to understand Islam if you quit looking upon it as a religion, but instead visualize it as a system of government. If you can draw a comparison between the two superpowers, the United States of America today and the Islamic State as founded by the Prophet, it shall be much easier for you to understand Islam. Today, Muslims yearn to live under a rule of law. Look at the state of Muslims today. They are not happy in Egypt, Libya, Morocco, Iran, Iraq, Yemen, Afghanistan. They are not happy in Pakistan. They are not happy living in Syria, Lebanon, Tunisia, Somalia, Algeria. But where are they happy? They are happy living in England. They are happy living in France, in Italy, in Germany, and in Sweden. They're happy living in Norway. They're happy living in Denmark, Holland, Belgium, Canada, Australia. They're happy living in the United States. They are happy to live in every country that is not a Muslim country. They're happy to live in every country that is not a Muslim country. Why is that? Because Muslims cherish to live under a rule of law. Rule of law is in the blood of Muslims. Policies of United States of America, policies of backdoor diplomacy, they have been giving license to lawlessness to their puppet regimes. Backdoor diplomacy has been the American way everywhere. As such, there has been no rule of law in Muslim countries. And who do the unhappy Muslims blame? Not their countries, not their leadership, not themselves. They blame United States of America, a country where Muslims are the happiest. What is wrong with this picture? Backdoor diplomacy is now becoming increasingly obvious to Muslim masses as being the instrument of a new form of colonialism. Let me talk a little about the ideology of Islam and the ideology of United States of America. There was a period in history when Muslims were the happiest nation of the world, a superpower for 3 golden centuries. Just as millions of Muslims today live in the United States of America in total harmony and without any fear of persecution, millions of Christians and Jews used to live similarly in the Islamic State. They enjoyed equal opportunity to life and the joys of liberty, and they lived together for centuries without any fears of persecution. But just as Pakistanis today have been propagated wrongful beliefs about the people of United States of America, similarly Christians and Jews have for centuries been indoctrinated wrongful beliefs about their lives under the Islamic State. Christian missionaries, through their books and syllabi, taught wrongful, vitriolic beliefs to the children of India during the British colonial period. These lies, fabrications, deceptions, they have now become the unquestionable truths of history. The perverted media of today misleads Pakistanis about the people of the United States. The perverted historians of yesteryears misled Christians and Jews. Each media, be it the media of Pakistan today or the fundamentalist Christian historians of yesteryears, each of them have played their negative, destructive roles, acting as institutions of bigotry and biases, serving nothing else but their own malicious agenda of blackmail. Please remember that the media of our present times has its own vested interest to promote hatred and bigotry. Similarly, the historians of yesteryears had their own bigoted agenda. I have often wondered, living for so many years in the United States, why is it that Islam's glorious civilization is always underplayed in the American school curricula and in the American media? Fundamentalist Christians have for centuries considered Muslims as demons who are followers of a perverted, wrongful, impostor prophet who preached fanaticism. Even the great Voltaire became a victim of this wrongful propaganda in his formative years. But Voltaire's commitment to reason finally prevailed over the best of him. In fact, Voltaire rose to be one of the first European scholars to make a serious attempt to write the history of the world. How did he manage to do that? He eliminated theological framework and concentrated on economics, on culture, and political history. Voltaire was certainly one of the first Europeans to emphasize the debt of medieval culture to Arab civilization, and Voltaire paid glowing tributes to the genius of Islamic civilization. Voltaire the Great was a friend of the great Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of the United States. And which man of reason can ever deny Islam's contribution? As a doctor of medicine, I say this with immense pride that indeed it was Avicenna and his institution which gave the word medicina to the world's faculties of medicine. Medicina, and indeed it was Muslim Spain's culture and social mannerism of Seville that gave birth to words like civil, civility, and civilization. We use these words every day today. Modern Western civilization, with all its sophisticated manners, from turbans and stylish hats to forks and knives and dinner plates, owes their origins to the blooming, majestic culture of Muslim Spain. Remember Seville, remember Medicina, remember the Alhambra, remember the Moors. Ask yourself this question: is it not a fact that both the United States of America and the Islamic State as founded by the Prophet were established by such founding fathers who proclaimed, "In God we trust, tawakkal ala Allah," trusting the laws of God? Both civilizations, the American and the Islamic, thrived, having at first struggled with main and might to liberate themselves from the shackles of superstitious, religious, magical beliefs. Through a belief in a God of laws, Islam brought the renaissance of mankind. Inna Allah ala kulli shayin qadir. God has made laws for everything. Proclaims the Quran repeatedly, Inna Allah ala kulli shayin qadir. This glorious proclamation, a reassuring belief in a God of laws, took away all fears of superstition, liberating human thought and opening the doors of sciences for mankind. Quran brought a closure to the age of superstition, and our world was lit with what we call the light of Renaissance. I can go on and on and on, drawing parallels between the message of Quran and United Nations Charter of Human Rights or the Constitution of the United States of America. Quran was the first to emancipate women, giving them rights to property. Quran emancipated slaves. Quran gave women the rights to divorce. It is indeed the Quran that has the law of 2 mandatory waiting periods, each for 3 months, during which counseling for reconciliation has salvaged most marriages and families. Only after this a divorce would become final. Divorce. Look at the English word, divorce, the prefix die, denoting two separations, 2 periods of separations. Where does this idea come from? Divorce. Each period of separation acting as a waiting period, a period for cooling off, a period for reconciliation, a period for counseling. Modern civilization owes all of this to the Quran. I can go on and on. It is not the subject of my talk today to discuss causes of Islam's degeneration and decline and its reversal to paganism. In simple words, consider it like this: the Republicans took over Islam. I simply want to lay emphasis by stressing upon the fact that a great similarity and mutuality exists between the original Islam of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the American ideology of liberty and equality. With Pakistan failing to give me even the faintest sense of what it is like to live under a rule of law, I and another 8 million Pakistanis chose to immigrate from Pakistan. Pakistan became an unlivable country thanks to backdoor diplomacy, with Ronald Reagan's administration turning its back to all injustices being done by Pakistani generals. It is out of mutuality between Islam and American ideals that I decided as a Pakistani youth to become an American citizen. I'm never tired of proclaiming this with pride. I acknowledge that I grew up, like everybody else, as a youth in Pakistan. amidst the same state of hopelessness, hypocrisy, and ignorance that prevails today. A socio-political environment that is filled with an infinite hatred towards Western civilization. Poverty, hopelessness, ignorance, and a culture of lawlessness, all these spark the vicious cycle of hate in human beings. Hate spreads like an epidemic. Hate spreads like a wildfire. Pakistan is a victim of hate. Such nations think and behave like primitive Neanderthals, acting solely through their instinctive drives. Such is the mindset of the terrorist. Just as love primes us and builds us up for success, hatred and prejudice blinds us and sets us up for failure. Hatred only destroys its beholder. Hatred destroys nations, and poor Pakistan is suffering because of this venom injected daily into the hearts of the people. I have risen because not a single Pakistani leader, be it the President of Pakistan or anybody else, dares to talk honestly to the people of Pakistan. Pakistan's so-called political leaders, all of them yearn for backdoor diplomacy so that they can enter into accords, secret accords with United States. These leaders are frightened cowards who obtain a license from USA for public consumption through backdoor diplomacy to condemn USA, but publicly. This engulfing practice of backdoor diplomacy, which seems is wrongfully encouraged by USA, it has hurt Pakistan, but it has hurt the interests of United States of America far more. The Prophet of Islam never engaged in backdoor diplomacy, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah was one of the truest followers of the Prophet of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Jinnah was the other kind of leader. He was a straight shooter. He educated his followers, teaching them what was good for them. He never cared for cheap popularity or what we call instant gratification. Jinnah's leadership could sway the battle whichever way he chose. Because of his honest principles, his proverbial 100 million Muslims would march to the left, march to the right, march to the front, march to the rear at his bidding and at nobody else's. Pakistan has been denied a rule of law. Any wonder why Pakistanis hate United States of America even more than they hate India? It does not require a genius to understand the dynamics of this hatred and who has been responsible for it. United States aid to Pakistan has failed to promote any gratitude or relief, but instead it has paradoxically promoted hatred towards Americans. All because of backdoor diplomacy. Pakistan's army has been Pakistan's notorious singular political party, the kingmakers of Pakistan. This party has acted perversely, using the backdoor diplomacy to their favor in negotiating deals with the United States of America, deals which are in effect like pointing a pistol at their own heads and saying, "Help me stay in power or else I will blow this weapon." There are some interesting revelations in Bob Woodward's book, Obama Wars, a book which sheds light on the negotiating style of Pakistan's generals. The word liars has been frequently deployed by American negotiators to describe Pakistani generals. Backdoor diplomacy has produced these liars. Backdoor diplomacy produces these liars. These are the elitists of Pakistan. Now their children have been assigned to run the next generation of the Liars Club of Pakistan. The Liars Club. The common man considered the previous generation as symbols of imperialism. But to eradicate that image, the new generation of Liars Club expresses public hatred of USA just to be accepted by the common man. How clever of them. The military elitists, politicians, feudal lords, all of them seem to know very well that public expression of hatred of USA makes them popular and acceptable by the masses. As a consequence, such an attitude perpetuates the exploitation and abuse of the common man. It serves military's institutional culture of avoiding blame or any kind of self-criticism. Consequently, Pakistanis will almost never blame their generals. Their sponsored media will always blame the army's failures of leadership on United States of America. In this backdoor diplomacy, the goal of the generals and the goal of the media is only to make the Americans feel guilty. Guilt trips serve Pakistani generals, and this is how the Liars Club blackmails United States of America to get money for their own selves. Today, as we mourn the deaths of thousands of Pakistanis and Americans who lost their lives in these 10 years, I want people of Pakistan to know who has been actually responsible for their sufferings. Of course, it is the Liars Club of Pakistan's military leadership that has been double-crossing everybody. A product of backdoor diplomacy, Pakistan's military leadership has persistently failed to guide the people of Pakistan to help them distinguish between law and anarchy. This ruling class of elite, the Pakka Sahabs of Pakistan, in order to hide their false faces, they have never permitted the cultivation of a true, meaningful relations between Pakistan and the United States. Soldiers of Pakistan who died were victims of this double-cross leadership. Pakistan has suffered a loss of over 30,000 lives over the past 10 years only because of this double-cross leadership, a policy whose mastermind was General Pervez Musharraf. Look at the record of past 10 years. It was only when the Taliban almost invaded Islamabad that Pakistan military first got in touch with the grim reality and intervened. It was only then that Pakistan military took any action. Had United States of America involved the people of Pakistan instead of Pakistan's military leadership, there would not have been any need for drone attacks. The Pakka Sahibs were too timid to foster such bonds. The Pakka Sahibs would not permit the fostering of such bonds. As my poor Pakistan bleeds with massive loss of life, I have every right to raise these questions. Is it not that once again Pakistan Army has failed to realize on whose side of the war they ought to be? Is it not that once again Pakistan is being led to commit another suicide? Fanaticism blinds people, And Muslims have a long history of making wrongful choices. Look at our painful history of wrongful choices just over the past 150 years. In 1857, it was backdoor diplomacy, because of which Muslims were pitched as terrorists, full of hatred against the British. Then a true leader, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan of Delhi, brought public awakening and awareness. The momentum given by Sir Syed's educational movement gave us access to Western education. It gave birth to Jinnah and to Pakistan. But then again, we resorted to making wrongful choices. In 1971, the army was again pitched on the wrong side of the war. Backdoor diplomacy always creates wheeler-dealers of generals who care for their interests more than they care for national interests. Today, once again, the army and its political stooges are asking the people of Pakistan to stand up on the wrong side of this war. Pakistan could have flourished just as Israel has flourished because of its relationship with the United States, but blackmail fixated military leadership chose to take us on the wrong side of war. China has flourished because of its relations with the United States. So has India and Saudi Arabia and several other Muslim states. But Pakistan continues to suffer. The losses of Pakistani lives in thousands over the past 10 years alone. These losses mean nothing to the generals. They have no vision. It is extremely unfortunate that American leadership has acted so naively optimistic and has never taken into account this predatory, rent-seeking nature of Pakistan's generals. It now seems that finally, President Obama's administration has understood the grim reality. Nevertheless, in every way, the United States has been late in embracing this idea. Let me say this here about the people of Pakistan. They are one of the world's greatest productive workers. They deserve a genuine rule of law. They deserve better than what they got through backdoor diplomacy. On the eve of this new year, I appeal to President Obama, sir, let us make sure that Pakistani people do not suffer anymore in the coming years. American policy of backdoor diplomacy without open, transparent involvement of the people of Pakistan, that must end in 2012. It can never bring any peace or stability to the region. Let true democracy triumph in Pakistan. The people of Pakistan want an end to this backdoor diplomacy. One perverted coward goes away and the next perverted coward comes and takes his place. One perverted coward after another has misled Pakistan. This backdoor diplomacy has gravely hurt the common man of Pakistan. Only transparency will engender true bonds. Only transparency. The coming year marks a make or break moment for Pakistan. Whereas Afghanistan is set towards new avenues of progress, Pakistan's military elite is bent upon blackmailing USA, alienating the poor people of Pakistan, leading them into a quagmire. Military dictators have once again deceitfully launched the king's political party, this time using Mr. Imran Khan. The baton of backdoor diplomacy is now being passed on to Mr. Imran Khan. Jumping into the Hate America bandwagon, this has brought him instant popularity. Imran Khan has no spot to prick the sides of his political intent, but only vaulting ambition that overleaps itself and has made many a people fall on the other side. I remember my Shakespeare, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman of Bangladesh, a failed politician of 2 decades, did exactly the same. He attained his popularity with his Hate Punjabi slogan. Riders of the Hate America bandwagon, these include Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein. Mr. Imran Khan should better know that glorifying terrorists, anarchists, and insurgents, even as a part of political showmanship, will never make you a true leader. Backdoor diplomacy engulfs you into false public showmanship, and such leaders always succumb to their lies. This truth has been known to man from the times of Julius Caesar. Last night, I heard on YouTube the speeches of Imran Khan's party men. Sadly, they were glorifying the terrorists. Muhammad Ali Jinnah, our beloved Qaid-e-Azam, was always on the side of law and never glorified lawlessness. He never glorified anarchy. Leaders with vision will never glorify anarchists. Leaders with vision will educate and transform their followers. Go, I would say, take a look at all the medications in any pharmacy in Pakistan. They bear the names made in Pakistan or made in China, but each one of them was discovered after years of research in the United States of America. Go take a look at your mobile phones, internet, technology, Facebook, YouTube, television, light bulbs. It all started here in the land of the free. We Pakistanis do talk of the drones and the bombings, but we fail to realize that all deaths of war against terror in Pakistan were because of Pakistani generals playing double cross with the terrorists, refusing to bring them out of their hideouts. In fact, helping them. This has been a reality known to the United States for a long time, that they are helping the anarchists and the terrorists. Mr. Imran Khan, true leaders help their followers and help them open their eyes to reason. True leaders, Mr. Imran Khan, they show light to their followers and they help their followers to open eyes to reason. It is widespread in the world press that once again Pakistani generals through Imran Khan have cut a secret deal with the United States of America, again through backdoor diplomacy. That is a matter of crying shame. The Prophet of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, never engaged in backdoor diplomacy. Backdoor diplomacy has hurt Pakistan more than anything else. Mr. Imran Khan is emerging as the new showboy of the Pakistan's generals, leading Pakistan now into blackmailing USA and once again putting the soldiers of Pakistan on the path of blindfolded suicide. Why should poor soldiers and people of Pakistan be left blindfolded? They need to know the truth. They need transparency. They need to know on whose side of the war they are. Has not Pakistan already paid enough price at the altar of this backdoor diplomacy? People of Pakistan do not want to be alienated from the United States, nor should the United States consider alienating them. It is only the Pakka Sahibs who want to alienate the people of Pakistan. Afghanistan stood alienated from the world for 30 years, and we all paid a big price. An alienated, poverty-ridden Afghanistan worked best to the benefits of Pakistan's military dictators. These dictators used the situation in Afghanistan to their best advantage. These generals are committed to maintain the status quo. They do not want to see Afghanistan thrive in equality, liberty, and equal opportunity, just as they do not want to see Pakistan thrive. United States needs to bring an end to this backdoor diplomacy. A new Afghanistan is emerging on the horizons. Now, for the first time, over the past year, the United States, as a part of its broader transition strategy in Afghanistan, seems to have embraced the new Silk Road idea, an idea which was hatched not in Washington, but in Afghanistan. This new Silk Road shall promote regional trade and transportation, fostering wonderful, sustainable economic growth in Afghanistan. This strategy would lead to greater economic and political interdependence between Afghanistan and its neighbors. Afghanistan shall serve as crossroads for a rapidly developing overland trade in Asia and in Europe, a situation that would bring great leaps of development and stability. As Americans look forward to Afghanistan embarking on its new role, serving as the land bridge in the heart of Asia, connecting South Asia, Central Asia, Eurasia, and the Middle East, let us not forget that this dream cannot be realized unless America involves the people of the land. America needs to cultivate sincere and deep relations. Such can never happen as long as the beneficiaries of backdoor diplomacy, the military generals of Pakistan, keep the door of their blackmail and guilt trips open. As we talk of the future of this region, United States must never forget the passion which the people of Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Iran, the passion which they have for Islam, not as a theological framework, but as a system of government. Without such an understanding and without an appreciation of this ideology, there can never be peace. If Muslim masses are going to be left to remain as brutes and barbarians through United States policy of alienation and backdoor diplomacy, hatred will mount, bringing disastrous consequences. There will never be peace. Today, Muslims are awakening after centuries of dormancy. They are eager to join the human race, to live under a rule of law. 2.5 centuries ago, the great Voltaire had the audacity to say this about Christianity, which I quote, "Our Christian religion is without any doubt the most ridiculous, the most absurd, and the most bloody to ever infect the world." Christianity had strayed away from the glorious message of Jesus, which was to establish God's kingdom on earth through a government based upon God's law that guarantees equality, peace, equal opportunity, and justice. Christianity had strayed away for centuries until Voltaire and the Renaissance movement delivered Christians from their dark ages to the light of the new world. My fellow Pakistanis, here is my New Year message to you. Islamic Renaissance and the revolution that you deeply cherish is right here knocking at your door. Such is the vision of Jannat Pakistan Party. We have risen upholding the Quran of love, the Quran of a rule of law, the Quran that will bring an end to hatred, the Quran that will promote the original Islam of love. We celebrate the unseen Islam, the ideology of the glorious Islamic State founded by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let it be heard in America and in the English-speaking world. Without Islamic Renaissance, Muslims shall continue to be victims of hopelessness, hypocrisy, and ignorance, all culminating in an infinite hatred towards the Western civilization. Their self-serving leaders, these pakka saabs, will stop at nothing to ensure that this awakening does not happen. Pakka saabs will never let this happen. People of Pakistan need to be told loud and clear that all those who are chanting slogans of hate America are using these slogans only for their cunning mission to maintain the status quo. They shall continue to champion the hate America slogans for their petty political gains. And to the people of United States of America, I say this: United States of America can win the hearts of Pakistanis and Muslims if it stands up for the cause of a plebiscite in Kashmir. Kashmir issue needs to be settled on the very principles of rule of law, which the Obama administration is so proud to uphold. As Ayub Khan had said in 1961, I repeat the same. Our army will be your army if you stand up with us for the cause of justice. And to this I add, Pakistan is Islam and Islam is Pakistan. Rabbul Mashriqain wa Rabbul Maghribain. Lord of the East, Lord of the West. It is my vision that the establishment of a new Islamic Pakistan based on the law of God that guarantees equality and equal opportunity shall unite the East and the West into bonds of love. I wish Godspeed to the workers and members of Jannat Pakistan Party. Their vision is God's vision for peace. Jannat Pakistan is a party of the nameless, faceless people of Pakistan. Jannat Pakistan is everybody's party. It is the party of Muslims, Christians, Hindus, Jews, Sikhs, everybody. Jannat Pakistan stands as the ideological future, not only for Muslims, but also for the unification of all mankind. Islam is the one bridge that has united civilizations centuries ago. It was the bridge that truly united diverse cultures. Let Islam be that bridge again. Let us once again rise to honor the martyrs of Pakistan Army and the martyrs of United States of America. They laid down their lives for the cause of peace and for the cause of a rule of law in the world. They died, but not in vain. I wish you a very happy new year. Thank you very much. God bless the United States of America, and God bless Pakistan.